everyone. Welcome to Boss Babe Podcast. This is going to be a great one today. This show is all about women and how they deal with business and their challenges, their turning points, or real life examples of how they navigate their world as a businesswoman. My name is Brenda VanSalisbury, and I'm your host. And today is my first show. And it's going to be such a wonderful show because my first guest pushed back a little bit. She challenged me. I gave her questions about problems. And Missy said, Problems? I don't see things as problems. I see everything as lessons and opportunities. And I love that for my first show because we can see things through many lenses, and it's how we approach business that shapes our life. So we have Missy Tanguay here today, and I'm going to ask Missy to tell us a little bit about herself. And I know she has a few businesses, so I'm going to have her just give us an idea of what's going on with Missy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Missy Tanguay. I recently got married, so you may not know me by this last name, but my former last name is Ordaway. My husband and I own two local businesses, Hoover Pressure Cleaning and Foot in the Door Marketing. Hoover Pressure Cleaning cleans the exterior of homes. We do that in a plant-friendly way, as well as offering paver sealing, rooficide, and all eco-friendly products. So foot in the door, we work with companies who don't want to have a full-time marketing person. So we act as a fractional CMO, and which means that we do everything to bring their vision to life on their website, social media platforms, and then we help build their brand.
I love that. And tell me that acronym, CM, what was it?
It's a Chief Marketing Officer. So it's
Ooh, I like
CMO. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, I like it. It looks good on the business card.
Yes, it
Okay.
definitely does.
Okay, so Missy, I'm going to ask this question very gingerly. The original purpose of the question is, what is the challenge?
Right.
What happened in your life that caused you to have a pivot? So I'm going to ask, what was something, a defining moment that truly tested you?
I would the opportunity that for growth that I'm seeing as the challenge it would be buying Hoover when we bought Hoover Pressure Cleaning. I personally have been an entrepreneur since I was 26 years old, but this was like a whole new undertaking. And then there was a sense of fear and trepidation for me. There was an increased income and an increased of outgoing monies for the company. And that was more than I had ever done before. And not to mention that we actually bought Hoover 2 days after Hurricane Ian hit Southwest Florida. So what does everybody want cleaned? Their roofs and their pool cages. And guess what was gone? Their roofs and their pool cages. So definitely was um, everything lined up perfectly for us to buy this business. And then like you watch the cracks and crumbles and you're like, what is this supposed to be teaching me? And so that's pretty much that's what I would say has probably been a huge turning point for me.
Okay. And so that turning point and that time in your life, how did it affect you? How did it affect your home life, your relationships, your confidence? And most importantly, how did it affect your relationship with yourself? Because I know you're so insightful and I know you've got many answers to that question.
I would say that, one of the things that I realized is that when I was trying to manhandle the situation, like trying to be in control of it, that's when it really became a challenge. I was exhausted at the end of the day. My body, I could feel the tension in my body. And it just wasn't any fun. It was extremely chaotic since I I figured out how to do that. It did become a defining moment in all the areas of my life. I mean, I know you and I are good friends, so you know that my husband and I are best friends, but it really anchored in that we could rely on each other. most people will let fear stop them. And I just looked at it as an opportunity for us to think outside the box, reflect, and then, be confident that the path that I was following was laid out for me. And I was able to trust that, trust in myself during that process. And that's what gave me confidence. So it really shifted, okay, I've never done this before and I'm a little nervous, to like, wait a minute, I've done this on smaller scales. So why can't I do this? Like like I challenged that thought process, if you will, and then was able to be like, well, I've done it before. It may have been on a smaller scale, but I can do this. And so it really gave me the confidence to believe in myself and, trust those people around me that were there to support me, because we like to think that we do it all by ourselves, but we definitely need other humans to teach us, to support us, to grow with, and, help navigate circumstances.
When you had that revelation that you were prepared and you knew that this was the right choice for you and you knew that the path was where you were exactly supposed to be, was there a defining moment for that, or did it happen gradually? Was it like an aha moment, or did you just kind of transition into that kind of thinking?
Oh, you're previous to Hoover, is that what you mean?
Well, no, during the time when you opened Hoover, Ian came, you were overwhelmed, you were questioning yourself, and then you realized that this was just the right path for you, and you realized that you were capable and confident. Did that happen over time, or were you one day like, forget this, who am I talking to?
Yeah,
I know better, and just kind of, like just kind of that's sort of me. I have aha moments, and I
yeah.
think you internalize things, you think about them more deeply, and I think you process a little bit longer. Do I
Mm.
have that right?
I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of impulsive, to be honest with you. If somebody says, "Hey, let's do this," I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And and then I just kind of start getting it all lined up, and I'm like, "Okay, here you go." And they're like, "Wait, wow, you really took me seriously, did you?" And so sometimes I come to the table with more than other people anticipate. But it's all about like what feels good to me. So if
And
it feels like this is the right thing to do, now, like, my history is that I was the office manager of Hoover from 2012 to 2017. I left, I started foot in the door, and then I came back 5 years later in 2022 and we purchased Hoover. So now I'm the owner. So I have seen what Hoover has been through, and then went away and became, an entrepreneur again, and then came back as the owner. So it was a more of a matter of like, I know how to run this business. I'm not concerned about that. It was a financial undertaking, and knowing that I was responsible for more than just myself and my family. Now
right.
I'm responsible for all the employees and their families as well. And so it was
And you
just,
and you're at a high level of revenue. So this is not something that is easy to account for. You're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I know it's a game changer when you go from just your personal
yeah,
finance and what your business is going to give your household to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and how to work through that and how to navigate it. Now, when you
absolutely.
had this switch in yourself where you became more confident and more insightful and more aware, and you became more happy about the situation that you were in. What changed internally, externally? Did your relationships at home get better once you decided, I've got this, I can do this, I'm an entrepreneur, anything I can do? Did that flow over into other areas of your
Always,
life?
always, absolutely. So I'm a firm believer in, like, you get to be the example before you can expect anybody else to change their mind, change the way they're behaving, or change anything. You first have to be the example. And so, like I said, my husband is my absolute best friend. And so knowing that I had his support no matter what, and that he trusted my judgment and vice versa, I trust his judgment, that makes it extremely easy when you have a partnership like that, right, at home.
Yeah.
But um, watching how things unfold and then just being an observer of how everything's just came together and that I really didn't have to do anything. I hate to say it like that. It really sounds very pompous, but I mean that I didn't have to go muscle
Change.
my way through things and fix things and align them properly. Like I just watched the money show up. I watched the job show up. I watched the right people for the job show up. I watched, the influence I got to have with my customers by knowing they know that I have integrity. They know that we're going to take care of them. They know that if we do make a mistake, because we are human, we will show up and we'll come back and make sure that everything is handled to their satisfaction. Um, it's extremely important, to be who you say you are, right? And when you be who you say you are, no matter the circumstance, then people start to understand and align with, who you are as a person. And it makes, I want to say that it makes them want to become better, but they see that they can do it for themselves as well. That makes
Right,
sense.
a lead by example. And I have to give a little caveat. I was with Missy when she got a customer complaint. She was driving, she was on the phone. She was an absolute pro. She said, "You know what? Give me a minute. Let me get with my employee. Let's figure this out. I'll get right back to you." She got off the phone. She called the right person. She called that person back, and the person was ecstatic with the information that Missy gave her. The customer just had a bit of a misunderstanding. So Missy was able to guide that conversation perfectly. So Missy's customer service is bar to none. Now, how did your leadership role go? Because now you're really a CEO of a major corporation and you have transitioned into a larger scale business. How
Mm-hmm.
did your leadership become affected? Were you were you sterner with your employees? Did you run a tight ship? Did you let
No,
them just be themselves?
I think the exact opposite. Yes, I want their authenticity. We have, let's say, guidelines. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you don't show up for work, then you're probably not going to be the person that we want to keep. But they know our values, and we are. And it's very important for us to hire people who hold the same values. They know that if something goes wrong at the office, they can, or out in the field, they can call the office and we're going to get it handled. Like we don't get mad at them, we don't yell at them, we don't, we call the customer, we make sure the customer is understanding and knows what's going on. Like communication is so key in our business. And then we handle it because it's the right thing to do. And
Right.
I guess I've grown up on the philosophy of do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So, I mean,
Perfect.
I don't want to be lied to. I don't want to be cheated. I don't want to be, taken advantage of. So I want to make sure that my customers know I'm here. I'm going to see this through the end. And it's gonna strengthen that relationship because I'm not here for a one and done. I don't want to be your pressure cleaner just today and only when you need somebody last minute. I want to be someone that you're calling for years to come to have a relationship with so that we know your house, we know your property, we know your standards, and we can implement that when we go out and make sure that you're happy every time we leave.
And that's organic. That's how you build a business from repeat customers. It's not always marketing, it's not always social media, it's return business. And I
Absolutely.
know that has been very important in my transitions in business to have a following,
Yeah.
and you have a following. So let's talk about the key takeaway. Let's give the Missy perspective lens because you sit tight because this is going to be a good one. Tell me, what would you tell another woman? Let's say she bought a business, she got hit in the head right after she bought it. She had to learn to navigate the ropes And then she came out on the other side and is running a very high level corporation. What would you tell a woman that maybe is starting a business, going through a transition, and then maybe it not going her way, but knowing in your heart that you can do it? What would be your takeaway, and what would you tell another businesswoman who's faced with such challenges right off the bat?
I would have to say that there's a couple different responses that I could come through with. It's going to absolutely depend on her specific situation. But, at a young age, I think that we're taught to seek information from outside of ourselves. We're asked others for advice. Now we can look things up on Google. We're always supposed to research before we make a decision. And so I think that we may, through the years, been domesticated to not listen to our internal guidance. Usually we do talk to our partners, our friends, our family, asking what should we do. And I suggest that you learn to trust yourself, and that's going to take practice. Like, you have your own answers. You know what's going to be right for you. You know what you believe in, and you know what you're there to accomplish. Not everybody is going to know that. And so be open to your answers showing up in perfect timing. Be open to, if a problem comes in, sit with it. Don't act right away. Just sit with it. And, ask the question, well, what should I do? And not out loud, but to yourself. And just say, like, it's okay to pause. It's okay to ask somebody, can you give me a second to wrap my head around this? And can I call you back in 5 minutes? And, and sit with it to see what happens. You know what happens to me majority of the time is that either the customer will call back, or the employee will call, or someone will call and be like, oh, it's been resolved. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, I didn't have to do anything. Like, all I had to do was be the space, knowing that it was going to work out. Be that example, to be there for whoever needs me, however they need me to show up, and love them where they're at. Right. And so
So
I'm
practice the
not gonna say,
pause and
what's that?
teach and practice the pause
Pause.
and
Yeah.
teach yourself to listen to that guiding voice inside. I think is what Missy has such a gift for.
Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome. Okay, Miss, can you tell people, well, first of all, thank you, because I
Yeah.
knew that this was going to be the perfect first show, because we're setting the tone for solutions. We're setting the tone for a lens to view business by. It's not that you have a problem, it's how your lens through the problem and how you walk through it. And so I do appreciate you challenging that verbiage somewhat, and being authentic to yourself and to the way you process things. So I do appreciate you, and very excited that you were my first guest. And if you can, please let us know, how do we get in contact with you? How do we find Hoover? How do we find Foot in the Door? What's the best way? We'll put
Sure.
it up on the screen for you.
Okay. You can find Hoover Pressure Cleaning at hooverpressure.com, or you could call the office at 941-697-6886. I mean, you can find Foot in the Door at foot, the letter N, so footinthedoor.com. And phone, you can reach me at 941-487-0044.
Okay. Thank you so much, Missy, and all my viewers. We'll see you next time.